What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and I am so excited to bring you guys this top 10 list today, right? These are the top 10 cards that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player last month. Now, that is incredible, like macro level, hobby level data, which is super cool for us to look at and try and understand. And that's because outside of eBay, TCG Player is the biggest marketplace for Pokemon cards. So anytime we can get a look behind the curtain and see what actually is going on, that is an incredible tool in our tool belt, and that helps us play chess when everybody else is playing checkers. So not only are the 10 cards on this list absolutely fire, this might be one of my favorite top 10 lists of all time, but there's some really interesting price movements that are going on that we haven't seen in the past, and that is why I think I'm so excited to bring this video to you today, and that is why I'm so excited to talk about it. Now, not only are we going to look at the cards and the individual card prices, we're also going to look at the booster box or elite trainer box that card comes from, right? So a set like Scarlet and Violet, that comes from a booster box, right? And a set like Crown Zenith, that comes from an elite trainer box. I also have this little star system which will indicate how many months in a row a card has been on this list. Now, if a card falls off the list for a month, they got to start all over again, right? Like there's no skipping months. So it's really cool just to see how many of these cards have had this level of velocity for months on time. Now, I'm going to tell you this, if this kind of stuff gets you excited, listen, we do stuff like this all the time on this channel, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, we would love it if you did, so hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, questions or comments, drop them down below, but I am pumped, I can't wait any longer. Let's get into this right now. Now, the first thing I always do is I call out the cards that dropped off the list, right? Forest Sealstone, hey, I salute you. You popped off in rotation. You had 2 strong months on this list, but I think everybody who needs you probably has you in their deck, and so you have fallen off. This special Pikachu from Crown Zenith, I absolutely love this card. You guys know that was a target of mine last month. I picked a couple up. It is flattened out. Not surprised to see it drop off this list. And then the 1999 base set Charizard, that is a card. It pops on the list. It pops off the list. The fact that it is on and off so frequently gets me excited. I love the fact that people love the origin of US Pokemon, that 1999 base set. Obviously, the Charizard's the big chase card in there. So as I see it pop on and off this list, it just makes me feel really good about the overall health of the hobby because people are looking at the origin. So even though this card fell off, it'll be back on again, and I absolutely love it. So what cards are on it? Now, speaking of Crown Zenith, here's that Mewtwo V-Star, right? Now, this card has been on here 2 months in a row, and it has been on here kind of inconsistently since Crown Zenith launched. Now, I think this is an absolute beautiful card. I think in the long run, this card is going to do very, very well. Look at the individual card price movement, and I want to call that out early in this. So it started off, it launched in January, right? It popped up, and then it did what we always see, and it has been on a downward spiral ever since. Now, Crown Zenith was a really hyped set. Everybody loved it. Everybody still loves it. I still love Crown Zenith. It's a ton of fun to rip. I think there's some beautiful cards in there. You got Mewtwo, you got Pikachu, you got Charizard. Like, there's nothing you shouldn't love about Crown Zenith. So it's interesting to me to see a set that has been loved this much drop like this from a price perspective. Now, again, this is what we typically see, and I'm calling it out early because we're going to talk about some different patterns that we're seeing in the newer sets, and we'll use this as a bit of a comparison. Now, when you look at the Elite Trainer Box price, it's down to $54. It was all the way up to $60, which didn't make a ton of sense to me because you can go to your local big box store and you can buy this really at MSRP anywhere. So the interesting fact, it still is at $54 on TCG Player. As I said, this card has been on here 2 months in a row, and I freaking love this. If this continues to remain flat, I have no problem pulling the trigger and buying this card for $50 because I think in the long run, and when I say long run, I'm talking 3, 5, 10 years, I think this is going to be one of the best cards in the entire Crown Zenith set. So, speaking of newer cards, look at the Gardevoir from Scarlet and Violet base set. Listen, this bad boy has been on here 2 months in a row. I absolutely love it. And the thing that I wanted to call out is, contrary to what we saw on the previous slide, look how quickly this thing is flattened out from a pricing perspective, right? So we know that it launched earlier in the year. It came out, it's down to $32, and it has been flat for a month, which is a faster path to flat than we typically see. Now, is it going to stay there? I don't know. This certainly isn't a new indication that newer sets are going to perform any differently than sets in the past. You know that I'm a big believer that the past always doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So the fact that this one is flat is just an interesting thing for us to call out, but I do love the fact that it's been on here 2 months in a row. I do love the fact that this isn't a Charizard or a Mewtwo or a Pikachu, so I am very excited to see a new name here on the top 10 list, and I think this is an absolute beautiful card. Now you look at the booster box. The booster boxes have been coming down in price. You know, it's under $100. You can get these for like 95 bucks shipped on eBay. But again, I don't think that means anything. Scarlet and Violet in the long run is probably going to perform very similar to the way we've seen a lot of the beginning sets in Sword and Shield. So under $100 at 95 bucks might be a great time to buy yourself a Scarlet and Violet booster box. Now, with that being said, The old Charizard is off, the new Charizard is on. Celebrations, everybody knows I'm incredibly bullish on the long-term prospects of Celebration as a whole. This card has had a very, very choppy year. It's been up and down and up and down and up and down, but at the end of the day, if you trend line that out, it's up. You know, it's been a very solid, very steady trend line up and to the right. It's at $84. Actually, the Elite Trainer boxes are at $82. It has had a very, very choppy year as well. However, it has been almost flat. You've been able to get it in the $80 range, those Elite Trainer boxes, for about 6 months now. So if you're a big believer like I am in the long-term appreciation prospects of the Celebration set, I think this Charizard is going to do really, really well, and I certainly think any sealed product from there is going to do really, really well as well. So, love seeing this Charizard up here. I love this card. I don't have it in my PC. I don't know why. I really need to pick this one up. Next one right here, speaking of Crown Zenith, here it is, the Giratina Gold V-Star. Listen, another one from the Crown Zenith era that is starting to hit that flattening out cycle. We saw it with that Pikachu, we see it with the Mewtwo, now we're starting to see it with the Giratina. Like, if you've been on the fence, if you've been sitting on the sidelines, I'm not saying it's a time to jump in. I do think at the end of the year, there's going to be a lot of, I don't know, Black Friday deals that are out there, and I think Crown Zenith will be at the point in its life cycle where we might see some Black Friday deals on Crown Zenith. Might be a really exciting and fun time to pick up a ton of product and rip it. But really, at the end of the day, even then, even if you get it for a great price, it is very, very hard to pull these cards, and it is going to be, you know, ripping wax is usually a losing proposition. So I love this card. I think it's flattening out under $100. I think that's really, really good. Again, the Elite Trainer box is still at $54. This is a card that has been on and off this list a ton as well. 2 months in a row. Love seeing this Giratina on here. The other thing I wanted to say too is Giratina has a lot of overall hobby momentum. When we look at our grading video, which we did just a couple weeks ago, like, we see that Giratina is one of the top 10 overall Pokemon graded at PSA. So lots of excitement there. And then the king of the top 10 list. I have done this for 6 months in a row. Only one card has been on the list all 6 months. I'm going to run out of space for stars, but here it is, the Lugia V from Silver Tempest is on here yet again, 6 months in a row. Hats off to you. I don't know what I can say about this card that hasn't been said before, but I will say the interesting thing is it has taken a significant drop. Now, I know there's a lot of conversation out there about restocks, reprints, whatever. Silver Tempest was name dropped. I know, Evolving Skies, Elite Trainer boxes, we've got Lost Origin, we've got Brilliant Stars, all of this nonsense is going on. I have shared my thoughts numerous times. I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's a restock, not a reprint. I think these sets are going to do what they're destined to do. So I don't know if you love this card, it might be a great time to get in while everybody's kind of panicking a little bit. So, a beautiful card, obviously tons and tons and tons and tons of collector interest in this, right? The fact that even with new sets dropping, new cards coming out, no matter what, this has been on the top 10 list. I think that bodes really well to the long-term prospects of this card. Next one right here, another Giratina, another one that in my mind has been nipped by the restock nonsense. Well, it's not nonsense, I get it, it's happening, we need to talk about it, but I do think that it's going to be fine in the long run. But this card is still nipping at $300, even though for the first time in a while we've seen it actually come down in price. To me, still a little rich for my blood. I think I'm going to let Lost Origin mature a little bit. I'm going to let some more of these restocks get out there in the wild. I'm going to let some more people rip some cards and see where it is. I think this is one of the most beautiful cards in the Sword and Shield era. I think it is absolute fire. I have no problem further down the line taking a look at it and seeing, hey, maybe this is a great long-term buy and hold, because it could end up being one of those iconic cards from the Sword and Shield era. You'll see at the booster box price on the left where you see, hey, it was going up and to the right. It was hitting at 170. Restock came out and it dropped all the way back down to MSRP at 146. I have no problem with that. I want everybody to have the opportunity to open Pokemon products and have a ton of fun with it. So hey, I'm fine with the restock. I'm fine with it bringing it back down to a realistic price point, and I hope everybody out there who wanted some Lost Origin has the opportunity to get their hands on it. Now, with that being said, we're getting into the newer stuff. Here's the Miriam. Like, I love everything about this card. So this card was number 2 on the list last month. It dropped to number 4, but that is not a far drop at all, considering we have had a new set that's dropped since then, right? 3 months in a row. You'll see the booster box price. We talked about it earlier. Booster box price is under $100. But again, look at this price point. So it started off really high up. I mean, these were going for $120. Forget that $80 mark. These were going for $120, $150, $200 when it first dropped. It has come out. But again, this is another one, at least over the last 4 weeks, it is flattened out in the $50 range. Now, I don't know if it's going to hold that position. It's going to be very interesting to see. But we're accustomed to seeing new cards come out and drop like a rock for 6, 8, sometimes even 12 months. So if some of these newer sets with these newer cards can hold a flat line here out the gate, that's going to be really interesting. I know that will fundamentally change the way I look at buying, selling some of these newer cards. Again, also, full art trainers have a ton of momentum right here, and this is a beautiful card. So not surprised to see it flatten out. $50 is a very approachable price point for a lot of people. So we shall see if it can hold that line. Now, of course, the Umbreon, right? Like, of course, we got to talk about it. It is always here on the top 10 list. It fell off when rotation hit, but for the last 2 months, it has been on here. It was actually number 1 last month. The price is down slightly. It's only down $10, so it's nothing to really freak out about, right? The price is down $10, and on a $650 card, $10 is really nothing. You know, I think that might be nipped a little bit because of the restock hype around Elite Trainer boxes for Evolving Skies coming out. I do keep an eye on the PSA 10 population for this card because I'm looking for a little bit of a slowdown for whatever reason, because I mean, at the end of the day, Evolving Skies is like 2 years old now. So last month there were 325 additional PSA 10s that were graded, bringing the total almost to 7,200. So there is a ton of these out there in PSA 10s. It's an iconic card from the Sword and Shield era. It is an absolute amazing piece of artwork. So where will it end up at? I don't know, but you guys know I love keeping an eye on this card. Now the booster box price is up over $400 at $405. I don't know what's going to slow down the Evolving Skies booster boxes. Probably nothing. I am fascinated to see how high is for this card and this set. Next one right here, the Magikarp. Beautiful card. I don't even know what to say from Paldea Evolved. It is an absolute stunner of a card. Now listen, this thing did the opposite. It came out and it absolutely ascended to a crazy price point. It was going for over $80. And then you see it came back down. Now it's still at $50, which is still a little rich for my blood for a Magikarp from a brand new set. But I will say this, there is a ton of collector interest in this card. And this is a great example of, hey, listen, it was going up. We don't need to freak out. There's tons of Paldea Evolved out there. You can buy booster boxes of this for $100 on eBay ship. So I don't think anybody needs to be freaking out. I still think $50 for this is a little rich for my blood. Who knows? I certainly don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think this is an absolute beautiful card. And if any card has the opportunity to outperform or buck a trend, this one could be it. It is hot. It is pretty. I love everything about it. I just thought this was a great example of cards that get really, really hot out the gate, and we can all take a breath sometimes. We don't have to FOMO. We don't have to freak out. Like, prices will settle in. I think there's going to be plenty and plenty and plenty, as in years and years and years of time to get this Magikarp into your collection. Now, the number 1 card is this Iono. It's not the one I thought. I was absolutely floored when I saw this, and it wasn't the special illustration rare. And so, of course, my brain starts going. I'm like, well, why might that be? Maybe a lot of the collecting population, remember, this list is simply based off of volume, off the number of times a card exchanged hands on TCG Player. Maybe a lot of people weren't piling in on the special illustration rare because they felt like the price was too high out of the gate. Maybe everybody was looking at this as a secondary card thinking, hey, listen, I want some Iono in my life. This is a beautiful card. This card has all kinds of opportunity, so I'm going to buy one on the discount and have it. I pulled this when we opened our Paldea Evolved Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. So I've got this in the PC, and I will tell you right now, after having it in my hot little hands, it is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, I think the special illustration rare is going to do very, very well in the long run, but I was fascinated, absolutely floored that that card wasn't in the number 1 spot. The other thing that was really interesting to me is, look, it dropped off, but it does seem to be flattening out a little bit. Again, $40 for this card, we shall see. This is why we do this every single month. This is why it's a continuation. This is why I always say, hey, listen, the PikaPikaPaPa videos, they all kind of link into one another. It is going to be very interesting to me to see how these cards, these newer cards, perform over the next month. Now, listen, if you guys got excited about all of this, if you want to see the future videos where we tie all this together, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. This community is amazing. Our Discord group is awesome. We would love to have you be a member of that. If you liked what you saw, give us a thumbs up. Questions or comments, drop them down below. I hope you guys have an epic Sunday, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.